Now on KOAM News at 5, area veterans reflect on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 at a Veterans Expo in Joplin.
President Biden is launching a new effort to tackle the coronavirus. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House with the latest on the push to get more Americans vaccinated.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Local veterans reflect on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. This is KOAM News at 5. The Joplin Veterans Expo is being held at the National Guard Armory on 32nd Street until 6 p.m. This morning, several veterans and their spouses attended to learn about resources and career opportunities. We took the opportunity to talk to a few of those veterans about the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the recent withdrawal from Afghanistan. One Army veteran who served in Afghanistan says having both happen at the same time is tough.
I've been reflecting a lot, especially with Afghanistan. It's really bad timing, and it shouldn't have happened then. And to look at it 20 years later to see not a lot has changed.
Tonight at 6, we're going to hear more from Reynolds and from another veteran who recently retired from the Army National Guard. Heard the phrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Well, in this case, a Southwest Missouri woman is turning the trash into treasure. Angie McGuire, who goes by the name Junkyard Farm Girl, uses a plasma cutter to turn scrap metal into works of art. She also teaches classes so other people can learn how to do what she does.
I've always liked to think outside the box, and so it's easy for me to look at something really abstract and see a piece of art or a portion of a piece of art, like turning saw blades into chicken combs.
The Junkyard Farm Girl's main studio is in the Lamar, Missouri downtown square. Jacob Leonard joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Well, it turned out to be a pretty good day today, and if you got up early enough, it was actually a little bit cool this morning, but we had no problem warming up. Most of us made it to about 88, 90 degrees on the afternoon. Taking a look at the Skywatch storm tracker now, as has been the case for most of the day, not a lot going on. It's very clear, still has been clear throughout the rest of the evening. We're a little warmer in northeast Oklahoma, 90 in Grove, 89 in Commerce, a little cooler when you get into southwest Missouri, 85 in Lamar right now, 83 in Fort Scott. Now as we make our way through the rest of the evening, we will drop through the 80s, down through the 70s. By midnight, we're looking at 66. And most of us will bottom out in the lower 60s. It's going to stay warm for the next few days, but we do have a chance to cool off in the middle of next week. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, Dow.
Catch you then. A U.S. official confirms to CBS News that the Taliban has agreed to allow 200 people, Americans and other foreigners, to leave Afghanistan. Earlier this week, Secretary of State Blinken said it was believed there were around 100 Americans still wanting to leave that country. Officials say the U.S. is pressing the militant group to continue to release more people this week. This afternoon, President Biden said right now the country is in a tough stretch as he laid out next steps to combat the coronavirus pandemic. This week, the U.S. hit 650,000 COVID-related deaths, according to Johns Hopkins, as the Delta variant continues to surge infections around the country. It comes as the nation's second largest school system is considering a COVID vaccine mandate for students. Skyler Henry reports from the White House.
President Biden's plan for tackling the COVID pandemic is a 6-step approach, focusing on public health, schools, and the economy.
We have the tools to combat COVID-19, and a distinct minority of Americans, supported by a distinct minority of elected officials, are keeping us from turning the corner.
The president signed an executive order requiring federal executive branch workers be vaccinated. Another extends the same standard to employees of contractors that do business with the federal government.
If a federal worker fails to comply, they will go through the standard HR process, which includes counseling and face disciplinary action.
The White House says the Labor Department is developing a rule that businesses with more than 100 employees require vaccination or weekly testing. The administration is also calling on states to adopt vaccination requirements for employees that work at schools.
We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
Last week, more than 252,000 children nationwide tested positive for COVID. The Los Angeles School Board is considering mandating vaccines for students 12 and older in order to attend in-person classes.
There isn't measles and mumps and rubella in our schools because we vaccinate and we require it. It's a mandate. This is a mandate to save lives.
Meanwhile, the NFL is touting its vaccination efforts, with more than 93% of players and 99% of team staff vaccinated. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Dallas Cowboys kick off the new season Thursday night, though Cowboys lineman Zach Martin is out after he tested positive for COVID-19. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Starting tomorrow, fines for travelers who do not comply with federal mask mandates on commercial planes, railways, and other public transportation will double. The TSA says the fines for first-time offenders could cost between $500 and $1,000. Second-time offenders could be fined $1,000 to $3,000. The Biden administration is suing Texas over its new abortion law. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the law is unconstitutional because it violates the precedent set by Roe v. Wade. The law, which bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, took effect last week after the Supreme Court declined to block it. The Justice Department is also seeking an immediate injunction to stop the law from being enforced. A federal judge has ruled that Florida's new anti-riot law, championed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, is unconstitutional and cannot be enforced. The decision found the recently enacted law vague and overbroad and amounted to an assault on First Amendment rights of free speech and assembly, as well as due process protections. The law increased criminal penalties for assaulting law enforcement officials and defacing monuments and other public property during a riot. Governor DeSantis can appeal the ruling. Still ahead, continuing relief efforts in Louisiana in the Hurricane Ida aftermath. And next in Healthwatch, we're going to check out a system that could help seniors get an accurate picture of their fall risk. Topping today's Healthwatch, Europe's medicines regulator has added an extremely rare nerve-damaging disorder as a possible side effect of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. The European Medicines Agency said it's a, quote, reasonable possibility after 833 cases of GBS were reported out of 592 million doses of the vaccine. The EMA categorized the side effect as very rare, the lowest frequency of side effect category it has, and has emphasized that the benefits of the shot outweigh the risks. In the U.S., the FDA has added a warning over the possible side effect of Johnson & Johnson's shot. The HPV vaccine has put the U.S. on track to nearly eliminate cervical cancer in the coming decades. The projection published in a Journal of the American Association for Cancer Research shows low poverty communities will reach the target before high poverty communities because of a disparity in screenings. An estimated 14,000 cases of cervical cancer are diagnosed in the U.S. each year, and 90% are caused by certain types of human papillomavirus, or HPV. A new international study shows that overweight and obese children are less likely to respond to inhaled steroid medications. Researchers say finding alternative treatments needs to be a priority since breathing issues can keep many asthmatic children from exercising. Every year, fall injuries send 3 million Americans to the emergency room for treatment. Many suffer life-changing hip fractures or head injuries, but there is a system to help seniors get an accurate picture of their fall risk to help them prevent serious injury. Pedro and Hilda Rivera get outside almost every day. Lately, they've become more in tune with their surroundings.
If I'm coming on uneven terrain, I'm paying attention.
Fatalities related to falls among seniors have increased 30% since 2009.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Very good.
Nursing professor Lada Tiamwong and her team have developed an assessment that measures a senior's physical risk of falling. Participants stand barefoot on a scale and close their eyes.
When you close your eye, you don't feel secure. You're going to tend to move.
The scale is connected to a computer. It calculates how much a person sways. It's a measure of balance.
So we're going to think about this.
Tiamwong and her colleagues also assess a person's perceptions of falling. Even if they've never fallen before, fear of falling can have a big impact.
They can isolate themselves. They don't want to do anything. Then their muscle going to weak, and then they're going to fall.
Experts say one of the best ways to prevent a fall is to do exercises that make your legs stronger, like walking, biking, or swimming. Incorporate exercise that improves balance, like Tai Chi or yoga.
You cannot see how many steps that you walk.
For Pedro and Hilda, their daily walk could protect their lives and their quality of life.
We don't want to live in assisted living. We want to live in our house for as long as we can.
Professor Tiem Wong has developed the assessment so that it can be performed with lightweight portable sensors. The goal is to travel to senior centers to take assessments to them rather than rely on participants coming to an office or lab to learn their fall risk. And that is a look at today's health news. Jacob Leonard is next with a full look at the forecast. And a little bit later, people in Louisiana are still trying to recover as they sort through the mess left behind by Hurricane Ida.
Well, we got off to a little bit of a cool start this morning, but once again, we had no problem warming up with most of the area topping out in the upper 80s near 90. Taking a look at 7th and Range Line, it's still pretty clear. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at 88 degrees. That wind coming out of the west, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Humidity, not much to speak of right now, 28%. Now, today was a little warmer than it was yesterday. Yesterday, topped out at about 85, 86 degrees. Now today, we did make it up, as I mentioned, around 88, 90 degrees. So once again, a little warmer. Taking a look at temperatures right now across the area, we are a little bit warmer in northeast Oklahoma, 91 right now in Miami, 89 in Welch. Pittsburgh sitting at 85, a little cooler in Fort Scott and Nevada at 83 degrees. Skywatch storm tracker right now, nothing to speak of. It's clear, and as you can see from the last 12 hours, it has been clear all day. Now taking a look at the future track for you now, working through the rest of the evening. When you get up to go to school in the morning, we're looking at mid 60s, 66 in Joplin, 64 in Nevada. And as we work through the rest of the day tomorrow, I'm the sports guy, okay? You think I wasn't going to talk about football? 7 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. We will touch 90 degrees tomorrow afternoon, but for kickoff, 85 in Joplin, 86 in Chanute. So most of us for kickoff looking at mid 80s for temperatures. Now, when you get in the car to head home from those games, we will be back down into the 70s, so it will cool off a little bit. Now, working through Saturday morning and into Saturday afternoon, I'm not done with football, okay? Missouri Southern home opener in Joplin. It is going to be pretty warm. We're going to be touching 90 degrees again on Saturday. Missouri Southern kicks off at 2 against Northeastern State. So if you're going out there going to support the Lions, it will be warm. And then as we work through the rest of Saturday evening, we'll still be in the 90s at 5 o'clock. We won't cool off until later Saturday evening. Now, as for the rest of this evening, we will work our way down through the 80s, 73 by 8 o'clock. We're down into the 60s by 10, 66 at midnight. Then most of us will bottom out in the lower to mid 60s. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast, I wish I could tell you something different, but as you can see on the graphic, it's hot, and then it's hot, and then it's going to be hot again after that. It's going to be hot all the way through the weekend, really. Now, the good news is, and I'm so happy to see this, is that by the middle of next week, we do have some rain chances working in on Wednesday, and that will cool us off. It is nice to see something on that graphic that is not 90 or above Dow. So that will be a welcome change. We're looking at 83 on Wednesday, about 85 on Thursday. But we do have some rain chances, which, as you can see, is something we might need.
Yeah, we need it already. Certainly will by a week from now. Thanks, Jacob. There's still an urgent need for relief in Louisiana in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. 11 more deaths were reported there yesterday. The statewide total is now 26. More deaths are blamed on heat and other causes in Louisiana than on the hurricane itself. Around 250,000 people in the state are still without power. Reporter David Begnow has the story from Barataria, Louisiana.
You can practically walk on water where Bayou Barataria separates Jean Lafitte from Barataria, Louisiana. That grass is marsh, thrust in by Hurricane Ida's storm surge, which pushed a barge into the only bridge connecting these two communities. That knocked out the bridge, sunk the barge, and cut off the 1,200 residents in Barataria.
When I get up to...
We went to meet one of them.
Nice to meet you, sir.
It's nice to talk to somebody.
It's nice to talk to somebody.
My dog won't speak to me anymore.
Robert Gonzalo's home has been surrounded by floodwater for the last 10 days. He's lived here for 42 years, and Hurricane Katrina was the only one he evacuated for.
I was expecting water, but I wasn't expecting this kind of water.
Why didn't you leave for this one?
Good question. Why didn't I? I don't know. Me and my son decided just to stay. Just hang around.
His home is 8 feet off the ground, and the water came within a foot of flooding it. Just down the street from here, about a mile, is where we met 77-year-old Earl Trish.
holding this, holding that for more than 3 hours, keeping the wind and rain down somewhat. The wind would blow so hard it would blow me back.
His home is high and dry. His wife evacuated, but he refused to. He had a heart attack 5 months ago, and when we met him, he had just run out of his heart medication. So his neighbor Lisa went and got it for him.
Well,
got your prescriptions.
that's the main thing I'm after.
Just yesterday, the state of Louisiana reported 11 new storm-related deaths, and they said that 9 of those were heat-related. 9. No power means no air conditioning, and the good folks in Barataria across the bayou have been told you probably won't get your power back until at least the end of the month. David Begnaud, CBS News, this side of the bayou in Jean Lafitte, Louisiana.
Coming up, a new estimate from the Treasury Department says the richest Americans owe more than $160 billion in unpaid taxes. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Clifford Collier served in the U.S. Army during World War II and the Korean War. The Kansas native was stationed in Italy, Germany, and Korea, and we salute Sergeant Major Clifford Collier, a four-state hero. Topping Consumer Watch today, the top 1% of U.S. earners owes $163 billion in unpaid taxes. That's about 28% of all lost tax revenue. It's according to an estimate from the Treasury Department, which says stronger enforcement of tax laws is necessary to correct the problem. President Biden has tried to boost the IRS's budget to go after tax cheats, but Republicans in Congress have resisted the effort. United Airlines is taking an even tougher stance with its vaccination policy. The carrier says that any employee who is granted a religious or medical waiver for the COVID-19 vaccine will be put on temporary unpaid leave starting October 2nd. What's more, United says if someone's application for an exemption is denied, they have 5 weeks to get the shot or they'll be fired. Buyer beware if you're shopping for a used car. Flood-damaged cars could be headed to the auto market. According to Carfax, hundreds of thousands of flood-damaged vehicles are already on the road before Ida hit, and more are expected to show up. Experts say buyers should make sure they check a vehicle's history report. The new survey from Digital.com shows the real reasons that people want to work from home. Nearly 3 in 4 respondents say they want to watch TV while they work, and 72% want to be able to squeeze in a nap or exercise routine while on the clock. And nearly 2 in 3 said they had concerns about coworkers seeing them in person for the first time in a long time. A final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from area veterans at today's Veterans Expo in Joplin. Plus, a look at the funeral procession of a Missouri Marine who was killed in August in that bombing near an Afghanistan airport. And Oklahoma lawmakers lay out plans for more than $1 billion in federal pandemic relief funds. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Hey, why wait for the leaves to fall? According to a recent one poll survey, 69% of us say autumn is home to the best seasonal flavors, and nearly half said there's no reason not to enjoy those flavors year-round. And yes, that includes the notorious, or perhaps famous, pumpkin spice. A lot of you love it. 43% said they indulge in the flavor year-round. 38% treat themselves to peppermint, rain, snow, or shine. If so many people like pumpkin spice flavored, say, lattes, for example, why don't they just order it year-round? I think you need the fall atmosphere, I think, to get into the mood.
It tastes better in the fall, like, when it's nice and cool and you're about to go to a football game.
That's true. That's true. Not exactly football weather at the moment, but it's not too bad today.
Nah, I guess it could be worse, but no, it's going to be hot over the next few days, sticking in the 90s all the way through the weekend. Now, the good news is we do have some rain chances working in on Wednesday. Nothing too nutty, but it will cool us off a little bit. So that's good news. But for football tomorrow, for football on Saturday, it will be nice and warm.
At least to start the games, for sure. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.